We did Nick Jr., we did Disney Jr., and now, it's finally time to complete the trilogy with the top 5 best PBS kids shows. Honestly, out of all the top 5 best lists I made, this was the hardest one for me to do. PBS Kids has made so many great shows over the years, that I could have easily made a top 10 list. So if there's a show that you like that didn't make the list, then, just deal with it. It's my list, okay? And don't act like a-holes in the comments just because you don't agree with me. But before we begin the countdown, I'd like to remind you that I'm still working on the pilot episode of my new preschool series, Junior Juncture. Depending on how production goes, you can expect it to be released by the end of February. Now without further ado, let's count down the top 5 best PBS Kids shows.
Hey, what a wonderful kind of day. Hey, what a wonderful kind of day. Hey!
Arthur is honestly one of the most unique preschool shows I've ever seen. And okay, I know it's not strictly for preschoolers like the other shows I review, but, whatever, my point still stands. There's a reason why Arthur stayed on the air as long as it did. In most educational kid shows, everything is safe, sappy, and nice 24/7. But Arthur takes a different approach. The characters are realistic and relatable. They can be jerks, they make mistakes, but are still well-meaning people. That's a really refreshing dynamic that I wish we'd see more nowadays. Also, the thing I like the most about Arthur is that it respects its audience. It wasn't afraid to tackle serious topics like bullying, divorce, heck, they even tackled 9/11 in one episode. Wow, that takes guts. Don't get me wrong, Arthur isn't a perfect show. Sometimes they botch up the moral in certain episodes, and the later seasons are not the best, but overall, Arthur remains a well-written and smart show that both kids and adults can enjoy. I remember when I first watched Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. They were airing a marathon back in 2018 to celebrate the show's 50th anniversary. Back then, I didn't really like it all that much. I thought it was boring and slow compared to the other shows I watched back then. But to be fair, back then I thought Go Animate videos were comedy gold, so it's not like I had the highest standards when it came to entertainment. My weird childhood aside, I just had to put Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood on the list. Even as someone who didn't grow up watching the show, it's hard to understate how brilliant it is. On paper, this show should bore me to death. No bright colors, no real conflict most of the time. Almost the whole show just revolves around a guy talking to the audience and teaching life lessons. That doesn't sound interesting in the slightest, but the more I think about it, I realize that that was kinda the point. The show isn't meant to be exciting or colorful, it was just meant to be a safe place for children to learn about their emotions and how to cope with them. And something about Mr. Rogers' tone and delivery really intrigued me. Instead of shouting obvious questions at the viewer like Dora the Explorer, he felt like a trusted and loving adult figure who genuinely cared about children. And from what I've heard, Mr. Rogers was the same kind-hearted guy in real life. And that's why Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood made the list. It's calm, genuine, and emotionally intelligent. Sesame Street needs no introduction. It's the most popular, long-running preschool show of all time. Preschool shows in general wouldn't be the same if it weren't for this show. Early Sesame Street revolutionized children's entertainment. Before then, children's shows were often loud, violent, and only existed to be simple entertainment. But early Sesame Street found a way to be both educational and entertaining. It had fun and endearing characters that anyone could relate to. It had countless memorable songs, and most importantly, a good sense of humor. There hasn't been a show like it before or even since. Now, you probably noticed that I said, early Sesame Street, and not Sesame Street in general. Well, that's because ever since the 90s, the show kinda started to go downhill. And the newer seasons are honestly not great. The show didn't get terrible, but the charm of the early seasons is kinda gone. While the early seasons felt like a show that anyone could enjoy, the new seasons feel like it's strictly aimed at young kids. I wouldn't have a problem with that if it was still good, but it's just not. Everything feels way more bright and saturated, and the characters feel more like lame role models than actual characters. But what really bothers me is that in the newest season, they added these weird animated line things whenever the characters move. Why? What's the point of this? It feels like I'm watching those weird, low-budget YouTube kid cartoons. Look, I get it. The show's been going on for more than 50 years, so they have to make changes here and there, and that's understandable. But the changes still have to be, what's the word? Oh, that's right, good. And plus, this is Sesame Street. The most revolutionary preschool show of all time. I feel like we should hold it to much higher standards than that. But despite all that, I still consider early Sesame Street to be one of the best PBS kids shows, and one of the best preschool shows in general. Wow. Just, wow. WordGirl is so good, so entertaining, so smartly written, that it's unbelievable. I don't think we've ever seen a show like this on PBS Kids before or even since. The show revolves around a girl named Becky, who becomes the famous superhero, WordGirl. She uses her super strength, flight, and her amazing vocabulary to fight crime, all while balancing her school life with her superhero life. Yeah, on paper, this sounds like the most generic superhero show in the world. But WordGirl finds a way to take this generic premise and turn it into something genuinely great. WordGirl is one of the very few shows that perfectly balances entertainment and education. It teaches kids vocabulary skills, while at the same time, entertaining them with charming and relatable characters, and hilarious villains. Also, just a side note, does anyone else find it weird how, despite being named WordGirl, her powers have nothing to do with vocabulary? I mean, she knows a lot of words, but still. This girl can fly, lift just about anything, and she can go all around the earth in seconds, and yet, she's defined by her knowledge of words. This isn't really a criticism, it's just something I find weird. But yeah, this show is funny. Like, really funny. Like, I don't think I've laughed this much at an educational show in a long time. There's just something about the line delivery and the character dynamics that's super witty and humorous. Sometimes, it feels more like an Adult Swim show disguised as a children's show. Overall, I can't recommend WordGirl enough. It's smart, funny, and humorous. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. The #1 best PBS kids show is. Oh screw it, you already know, it's Molly of Denali. Yeah, I know. I've been praising Molly of Denali on these top 5 lists for so long now, and yet, I've yet to make a full video on it. The truth is, I still need to catch up on the series. Especially now, since the show is apparently ending due to the funding cuts at PBS. So, that sucks. So for now, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna repeat what I said in one of my previous top 5 lists. So, why do I love Molly of Denali so much? Well, to put it simply, it's just so relaxing. Slow-paced shows are really hard to get right, and they can become boring fast. But there's a certain charm to Molly of Denali that gets me invested. It's one of the most simple, yet smartest shows I've ever seen on PBS Kids. The show just revolves around a girl named Molly exploring Alaska and learning about her culture. This is one of the very few modern preschool shows that actually respects its young audience. It doesn't shove morals down our throats. It lets kids absorb the lesson naturally. Molly of Denali has a perfect combination of entertainment and education. And that, my friends, is why Molly of Denali is the #1 best show on PBS Kids. And with that, the top 5 best trilogy is finally complete. Let me know in the comments what you think the best PBS Kids shows are. Oh, and make sure you tune into Junior Juncture when it comes out. And until next time, party on.